We've moved a long way in the last 20 years from when we had 3 trains a day going to Bendigo and no services to Maryborough or Ararat or Bairnsdale. But my God, there's a lot to be done. We've got 4 parties here today and we've given them all the opportunity to speak on their country rail. Sarah DeSantis is the Labor candidate and has got to go, so I'm going to give her first draw only on the basis that she can't stay for the whole time. So just a few words, Sarah. We don't need the full party platform, but anyway, welcome to you, Sarah DeSantis.
Thank you to the Rail Revival Alliance, and also thank you to Noel as President and Tristan as Vice President for inviting us down here. We know that regional rail is the lifeblood of our communities, and we are very, very keen to see regional rail restored, which is why we've put so much infrastructure and so much funding into our platform for regional rail services, including the $440 million for the Murray Basin Rail Line, but also $130 million for the Rail Freight Separation Project, which is under construction at the moment. That is basically there to unblock the Ballarat end of the line and replace the line through to Dunolly so that we can get to see some more passenger rail services down here into the future. I'm so sorry I have to go. We do have other arrangements to get to, and there's another event that I've got to go and give a talk to, but I did just want to say well done to these guys for pushing the agenda, for getting it back in the papers, getting people talking and helping us deliver, as we always want to do, regional rail services for our beautiful communities like Dunolly. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Before we move on, I've just got some thank yous. Now I'm going to forget somebody, so when I do, can you shout out? Got to thank the Dunolly community for putting on such a lovely spread for us today, and all the support that they've given us with this project. Thank you so much, everybody. I've got to thank the members of the Rail Revival Alliance for working to get this day going. If you think organising a train to Dunolly from Newport's easy, you better think again. Or cheap, you better think again as well. But in any case, it's been a great day, and thanks to the Rail Revival Alliance. We've got to thank the band, the Maryborough Brass Band, which will be fantastic. We've got to thank Dermpav for providing us with this beautiful, nearly 100-year-old rail motor, which, to be quite honest, I'd be quite happy for that to be running into Ballarat any day of the week. The air conditioning's provided by the windows, but anyway, that doesn't. Who else have we forgotten? Lots of thanks. Thanks everybody. That's the main thing. Thanks to our politicians who've come along, given up their time, and so I might call on Louise Staley now, because Louise is the local member for Ripon, and if you'd like to say a few words to the audience. Thank you very much, Louise.
Thank you very much, Noel. Thank you to Rail Revival Alliance for giving me this opportunity to say a couple of words. And isn't it great to be here at Dunolly? This is the heart of our proposal to return trains to Donald, and we will be delivering that in the next term. We've also announced a very big and ambitious plan for regional rail. And that $15 to $19 billion plan will see rail from Ballarat to Melbourne at 45 minutes trip time, 200 kilometres an hour, 32 minutes from Geelong into Melbourne. We absolutely believe that we need to decentralise Victoria because the congestion and the population growth in Melbourne is unsustainable, but we have great facilities, great infrastructure already here in country Victoria that is just crying out for people to come and live here and enjoy what we enjoy. So we've listened to you and to other communities and who've told us for a very long time that what you want is passenger rail. For the train enthusiasts amongst you, and I'm sure there's a fair few of you here, we plan to run rail from Donald through to Ballarat on standard gauge. We believe that is the only way to deliver a passenger rail service that can run at speed. Our political opponents plan to do it on broad gauge, on a dual gauge line. Now I know for those of you who aren't rail enthusiasts, I've just lost you all, just lost the whole crowd. However, for those that are into this, we believe in delivering a service that's going to work, and we think the only way to do that is on standard gauge, which eventually will be all the way from Mildura through to Ballarat. You will have to change trains at Ballarat, but I'm sure you'd rather have a fast service running twice a day on weekdays and every day on the weekends. This will transform our communities. I am so proud to be part of this announcement. Very happy to be here with you here today. It was with Rail Revival Alliance that I first did all of this, and that was back 4 years ago, and a lot of you guys are here again today. You have been very important in getting our party, my party, to the announcement that we have made to deliver major rail infrastructure to regional Victoria. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise. And Rail Revival has done a huge amount of work with all the parties to put country rail back on the political agenda. I remember 20 years ago, nobody wanted to talk about country rail. It was all 3 trains a day to Bendigo and old technology and old services, and it was almost like a dinosaur that was dying. Country rail and rail generally has had a worldwide revival because rail is really the only way to move people efficiently. And whether you're talking about energy, whether you're talking about the environment, whether you're talking about planning and population, rail is the key. And so it's for that reason we're all here today. And I've got to say I am very pleased that the opposition has put out such a comprehensive policy in regard to country rail. And I call upon the current government, the Andrews government, to at least match it. To at least match it to say we're putting rail back ultimately to Mildura, to Hamilton and to Horsham. I'm going to call upon there are 4 parties represented here today, the Labor, Liberal and the DLP, and we've got Chris McCormack and Tony O'Brien who are going to do a joint act here. So who's going first? Chris is going first.
Thank you, Noel. As Noel said, I'm Chris McCormack. I'm the Labor DLP candidate for Northern Victoria. And basically what Labor DLP stands for is decentralisation. And so this would have the joint benefit of easing congestion in Melbourne and also revitalising and reviving those regional and rural communities throughout Victoria. So the key to this is jobs and infrastructure, and obviously rail revival is a huge part and a necessary part of that. And the proposal for rail from Maryborough to Castlemaine and to extend the line from Maryborough right through to Mildura is certainly something that we're promoting, and a service that was backed on to a Melbourne service to Maryborough and then connected through to Mildura would alleviate some of the problems of the high suicide rate in Mildura, and that feeling of isolation from people in the northwest. Rural rail will definitely ease that feeling of isolation. Now, there's the trifold benefits of rail as opposed to bus. The sense of permanency that rail provides. Buses, you never know whether they're coming or not. They're a much safer form of travel and a much more comfortable form of travel. So rail through to regional centres as opposed to bus is going to really attract people to want to live there and ease that feeling of isolation. So basically, as I said, rail is key to our decentralist plans, and that's something that we're standing in all upper house regions and various lower house seats, and that's a plan that anyone that wants to learn of our plans, I've got flyers here, come and see me after. I'll hand you over to Tony O'Brien, who's the DLP member for Macedon, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I'm Tony O'Brien. I'm not the member for Macedon yet, but hopefully we can make that happen.
I'm the director in your thing.
You can swap preferences. When I was doing some family research, I found an article. My great-grandfather and my great-grandmother were married in Kyneton in the 1870s, and they took a train for the wedding reception to Bendigo. Now that was a great escapade that they were on, according to the paper. But the thing that happened is, people living in the country now, you couldn't plan. If you lived beyond Bendigo, you couldn't plan to take a train to your wedding reception. You would be waiting and waiting and waiting. And sometimes on the Bendigo line to Melbourne, you're waiting and waiting and waiting. Our policy is to expand the rail services, both passenger and freight. And with decentralisation and the federal government's policy about bringing new migrants into the regional areas of Australia, it is critical that if they're coming into the regional areas, there must be rail. And it's a no-brainer, but there's no political will. And our policy is one about having political will. And unfortunately, we're not going to be the government, but we might be able to impact and push and shove and kick and scream and use some political clout to get rural rail back on the rails. And it is also important that people be able to travel cross-country, say from Geelong to Ballarat, from Ballarat to Bendigo, from Bendigo north. And that's our policy, that's what we're here for, and thank you for your attention.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Steve. Much appreciated, and as was explained, it's not only who's going to win the local seat here in Ripon, or who's going to win the lower house seats. The balance of power in the upper house is very important. And it's important that we get pro-rail candidates holding the balance of power to make sure we don't get any outrageous decisions of the government of the day, like we have in the past, that's closed down services and ripped up railway lines. Our last candidate today is from the Australian Country Party, Costa Dibasi. Thank you. He'll give us a brief rundown on where they stand. And once again, you're standing in Ripon, aren't you?
No, Western Victoria.
You're standing in the upper house of Western Victoria. Thank you.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to welcome you all to Dunolly. This is my hometown. I actually live just a few blocks away, and it's a lovely little place. So, yeah, come back another time when you got more time and have a look. My name is Costa DiBiase. I'm running for the upper house, yes, Western Victoria region. I'm running for the Australian Country Party, Give It Back. We partnered with a philanthropic organisation called Give It Back. These are some of the rail projects that the Australian Country Party Give It Back is aware of and would place an extremely high priority on in any of our dealings in government. First of all, fixing the work on the Maryborough-Ararat line is of ultimate importance, and also extending that across to Castlemaine. It just makes so much sense. Secondly, returning passenger services to Mildura and the towns in between. Don't forget them. They really do rely on these services. Thirdly, return of passenger services from Geelong to Ballarat. You did that line today. Can you see how many subdivisions are ready to go into that place? That is going to be such a growth corridor. Again, it makes sense. Fourthly, connecting Mildura to Menindee, if Menindee gets its water allocation back. Otherwise, looking for another connection across to the Inland Railroad that into New South Wales. So you just have to see what happens with that. And fifthly, Inglewood, Bridgewater and Morong passenger rail into Bendigo and back. They're just the five that, it's such a big part of who we are. Rail revival is not just something that Australian Country Party will Give It Back pulls out every election to win votes. It is central, it is core to our strategy to revive rural Victoria and strengthen regional Victoria. You may not realise, but they're actually different. Rural Victoria and regional Victoria are different governmental ideas, you could say. Together with Give It Back's export incubator, easy access to the Port of Brisbane or the Toowoomba Wellcamp Airport, now I'm talking about Brisbane, Queensland here, rail revival is crucial to the future of Victoria. Our governments of both colours, again and again, have been hell-bent on signing every free trade agreement they can, with no thought to how we can benefit from it. Our prosperous future starts now. We have to start building now what we want in 10 years' time, not just infrastructure that the previous government has neglected. So we see this rail as the centre of our policy to reinvigorate the whole economy, all the communities along with it, and connect us to the rest of the world and actually take advantage of the free trade agreements. Whether we want it or not, we're in them, so we might as well take advantage of it. This golden soil is ours. It belongs to all Australians to live on. Give it back. The wealth for toil is also ours. Give it back. Thanks.
Thank you, Costa. That's basically wound us up. Bill Russell was here. Did Bill want to have anything to say about... Bill's one of the great minds of Victorian transport policy, and he's been a great friend of Rail Revival Alliance. I just asked him if he might just say a few words about politics and rail planning, and then we will be able to close down the microphone. You can all get about your business. Bill Russell, Dr. Bill Russell.
Thanks, Noel. Well, the last passenger train to this station came in 1981, that's 37 years ago, and it's fantastic to stand here today with all political parties unanimous that the passenger train has to come back, not only to here, but to Bialaba and to Oyen and all the places up the line to Mildura, and also to endorse the Hamilton and Horsham extensions, which I had the pleasure of working on the reports to develop those proposals. These proposals are practical, we can do them as a state, and the outcome is better connectivity, less social isolation, it's better tourism opportunities, it's better connection to jobs. This is what our future can be about, and how great it is that all the political parties in one form or another recognise the importance. The time has come to do this. In 1885 you could take a train from here to Melbourne via Bendigo or via Ballarat. We need that kind of decent connectivity again, and I commend the Rail Revival Alliance for the excellent work they've done and the really bipartisan or tripartisan or five-partisan work they've done to line up the politicians to support these policies. The Rail Revival Alliance has done a great job, and this kind of event is what they've done with absolute superb care, and the understanding around these communities that this is what we need has developed. So I'd just like to suggest we all give a hand to the Rail Revival Alliance. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Well, that's the formal part of our trip over, of our put country rail back on the agenda. It's lovely to see everybody here today. Thank you so much for coming, and hopefully we might have a different story in 4 years' time. Thank you. Bye-bye.